This is Grace Notes. My name is Alan Button, and our guest today is Tim Kilcoyne. Tim is a restaurateur and associated more recently with World Central Kitchen. We caught up with Tim earlier this week, shortly before Hurricane Michael made landfall in the Florida Panhandle and moved north. Tim was on the road on his cell phone, headed for Panama City, preparing to identify a kitchen for the staging of World Central Kitchen's recovery support efforts in Florida. Their efforts continue now that the hurricane has passed, leaving, as we know now, tremendous destruction in its wake. Tim, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Tim, if we could, let's start by having you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, how you got into the restaurant business.
So I'm from Southern California, specifically right now live in Ventura, California, which is just north of LA, about an hour. I basically, since I was the age of 14, I grew up on a little farm, and honestly, I probably did everything that I could to get out of doing yard work and any sort of manual labor farm work. And when I was about 14 years old, I begged my parents to be able to get a job, and the only job I could find was at the local restaurant, which was kind of an upscale French restaurant. And kind of from there was, I used to cook with my mom and my grandpa all the time growing up, and getting into the restaurant business was kind of they always say once you're in it, it's hard to ever get out of it. You get that little bug. And for me, that definitely was the case, because it was a French restaurant. I remember trying frog legs and escargot and, all of these things that growing up we never really had.
You weren't growing escargot on your farm, huh?
I'm sure there was escargot out there, but we weren't taking advantage of it at all. But yeah, it kind of opened my eyes, and I really enjoyed seeing, the different applications of being able to cook things, and just from there it took off, and ever since then I've been in the restaurant business, whether it was, a server or a general manager or I end up finding my home back in the kitchen. The first few restaurants I worked at, I used to get in trouble all the time because I was always back in the kitchen trying to help them cook and learn how to properly use a knife and cook different things. So I'd always get in trouble by the manager on duty that, was telling me where I should have been applying my time and not hiding in the kitchen helping them.
Uh-huh. And at some point along the way, you put together your own restaurant, as I understand it.
I did, yeah. Back in 2003, I opened up a restaurant called Sidecar Restaurant. Had that for about 10 years. We closed that down just to kind of move on and try something different. And we ended up starting a food truck, my wife and I. And most recently, coming up on a year now, we started a restaurant in Oxnard, California, which is known for amazing strawberries and produce around the world. We started a little sandwich counter. Mainly, we wanted to start that as opposed to a full-blown restaurant so that we'd have a little bit more time on our hands to do things. And lo and behold, we ended up having our son, Arlo, who's now 15 months. So he's been keeping us busy, and then that's when, some free time showed up, and I've been able to help with World Central Kitchen now.
Very good. Your son's name is Arlo, you say? And your wife's name is what?
Lisa.
Lisa. Okay, good. You say you've fairly recently had some time to get involved with World Central Kitchen. Tell us what World Central Kitchen is.
So World Central Kitchen is the nonprofit organization started by Chef Jose Andres, and it started in 2010, the earthquake in Haiti. And, he went there, he saw, he had some friends there, he knew some people there, and he wanted to go there and just kind of help the people and just start cooking for them. And during that time there, he kind of realized that, there's a lot of organizations that do help with meals and everything during disasters, but there always seems to be room for one more because everybody needs a hot meal. And kind of from that, his whole philosophy was, we're chefs, just like businesses or professions. A lot of times you'll stick together, and chefs and restaurants, we always stick together. So usually if we'll call each other and ask for help or a hand with something, we're usually right there ready to jump in and help. And, with that, he you kind of realized, well, there's always a restaurant, in a disaster situation that's empty. There's always, a kitchen that's available. There's always chefs that want to help, and just local volunteers that want to step up and take part and help as well. And so that's where the whole idea of World Central Kitchen came into play.
And I guess world is the operative word, huh? You, in your time with World Central Kitchen, have done some traveling. I
have, definitely. The way I got involved with the organization was back in December 2017, where in Ventura, California, it was where I live, the largest wildfire of California history, which actually, unfortunately, most recently was that top ranking was taken over by a more recent fire.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, nothing for something to stand out like that, but it just kind of shows that disasters are getting worse and worse as time goes on.
So you're talking about the Thomas fire then last year.
The Thomas fire, correct? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so I was, my family and I, we were evacuated for 10 days. And the fire came down and burned about 5 houses away from us. And, everything was fine with our place. But a lot of friends and people that we knew that lost everything. And World Central Kitchen reached out and asked about starting a relief kitchen, just like they had done in Haiti and in Puerto Rico. And myself and another local chef, Jason Collis, we stepped up and started organizing the kitchen and started cooking. And neither one of us really realized at that time it was 10 days and we did about 40,000 meals.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the time we thought, was a crazy number for us to do in such a short period of time with so many volunteers. But just a couple of weeks ago, we, hit 300,000 in a 2.5-week period with Florence, between kitchens in Wilmington and New Bern and Lumberton and Raleigh. So, now 40,000 seems like nothing compared to 300,000. But, at the end of the day, it's all about being able to provide some comfort and helping people, one less thing that they have to have on their mind of when their next hot meal is going to be. For us to be able to do that, and it means a lot.
You're talking to me on a cell phone right now, is that right?
I am.
And tell us where you are. You're on the road right now.
I landed this morning in Pensacola, Florida, and I'm currently driving to Panama City. And between phone calls, I've been searching out a relief kitchen that we could rent and purveyors, and one of our other team members is trying to secure a generator. And so basically we're heading that direction to with Hurricane Michael set to hit ground tomorrow, kind of the same thing we did in Wilmington, just trying to be ahead of it. And if things do what they think they may do with the hurricane, then we're here to help and support and start feeding some people that, whether it's first responders that, obviously need their energy and strength to be able to work long hours and help people in need, or just people that are displaced or have possibly lost their homes and they just need a comfort, the comfort of a hot meal. So we're just kind of getting everything in place to make all that happen.
Well, speaking of being on the road, you've identified a song for us, the Beach Boys' I Get Around. What is it about that song that makes it relevant? I guess you get around.
I do, exactly, yeah. Less than a year ago, and being part of this organization, and, I've been numerous states in the U.S. and Guatemala, and about a couple days ago talking about going to Indonesia. So, yeah, it's definitely taken me all over the place.
And, of course, it's appropriate for someone from California to feature the Beach Boys.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, let's hear the song, The Beach Boys, I Get Around.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around, get around, round, round.
That was the Beach Boys with I Get Around. Our guest today, if you're just joining us, is Tim Kilcoyne, restaurateur in his own right and active now on a regular basis with World Central Kitchen. Tim, I understand from a little research I've done that you recently had your own experience being on the other side of what some might call a disaster, something that relates directly to your restaurant business. I understand that you had a food truck that you no longer have.
That's correct.
Tell us about that.
So, well, I guess it was in between being in Hawaii for potential Hurricane Lane, which actually completely missed the island. I got home right after that and was home for about 4 hours, and then we were with our food truck. We were loading it up, getting ready for a wedding that we were going to cater the next day, and driving it back to our commissary to park for the night. And there's something wrong with the engine and caught fire and completely burned to the ground. And so that, like I said, that was kind of between Hurricane Lane and Hawaii, and heading to North Carolina for Hurricane Florence. So my little. And it's funny, I've been so busy, I actually keep forgetting about it. Which is a good thing. Isn't bad.
Well, it says something, I suppose, too, about the unpredictability of life, both in the smaller things and in the bigger things.
Exactly.
I want to, just as a side note, have you say something about your food truck with respect to the theme, from roots to wheels. I know that's a priority for a lot of our listeners in terms of where their food comes from and where it goes. Tell us something about that.
I grew up on a little farm in California, and oddly enough, I tried to always get out of doing any yard work or anything, manual labor related when I was younger. And now, being in an industry where I support, local farmers, and that's who provide food for me to cook with, to provide for my customers, they're the ones that I want to support, the local small farmers the most, just because I know how hard work that is.
Let me have you shift gears again, Tim, and tell us something about what World Central Kitchen has done and is doing in North Carolina with respect to Hurricane Florence. So
with Hurricane Florence, we made the decision, which was a little different for us. We usually go in after a disaster hits an area. With this, we actually got to Wilmington 2 days before the hurricane hit, and was able to secure a kitchen and establish, with a couple local vendors. There's a lot of moving parts. It's, having to secure propane, generator in case the power goes out, gasoline to be able to fuel the generator, and then obviously food and refrigeration and cooking equipment. So there's so many different moving parts, especially before something even happens, when you don't know what to expect. And we set up there and we lucked out. It was a good move. It was a good decision. The day of the hurricane, we were able to produce about 6,000 meals and be able to start providing for people that have just lost electricity or just lost their homes, or all the first responders that were, getting ready to go out and, man the road closures or search and rescue, or, so we were able to start right away supporting and providing something for people. And it was, in the time that our kitchen in Wilmington and Raleigh were open, which was right about 2.5 weeks, we did about 300,000 meals. And then since then, we still have a kitchen set up in Wilmington that's still providing. We still have a couple of food truck partners that are still providing some meals. We have a food truck in New Bern. And then we also teamed up with the Lumbee tribe in Lumberton because they were hit pretty bad as well. And we've been able to support them and get a kitchen up and going for them to be able to feed their community.
What a great service. What a great thing. It's just inspiring and challenging to have you share about what you've been doing in World Central Kitchen. I can speak, I know, on behalf of our listeners in saying that we appreciate it. It's great to have our neighbor connections extend as far as they have to bring things right here in North Carolina to help. So thank you.
Yeah, well, and honestly, it makes it so much easier, and it makes what we do so much easier because of all the, the community, all the people that kept coming out and wanting to help and just wanting to support each other. And I mean, honestly, that makes it 10 times easier for us to do what we do. And, it helps us get through the day and everything and go out. So,
well, that reminds me of another song that you've identified, fits right in based on what you were telling me before we started our conversation. Sunny by Bobby Hebb. What is it about that song that fits in here?
During all these disasters I've been in, I don't see much sun or much blue skies, but, it's the community and everybody coming together that creates that, that sunny, uplifting, thing that we all need in times of need. So
that fits for sure. Well, let's hear the song. A real classic, Sunny by Bobby Hebb.
Sunny, yesterday my life was filled with rain. Sunny, I love you. I love you.
That was Sunny by Bobby Hebb. If you're just joining us, this is Alan Button with our guest today, Tim Kilcoyne. Tim is a restaurateur and active worker with World Central Kitchen. Tim, you've filled us in on Hurricane Florence and much of what you've done there. I guess you know that our station is involved in a collaborative effort with World Central Kitchen because we believe in what you're doing and want to do our little part if we can. So we've got this fundraiser going on. Folks can go to our website and click on the link. We've called it Music for Meals. And folks can click on the link there, and it takes our listeners to the World Central Kitchen site where donations can be made. It's a real treat to be a part of what you're doing.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it.
Let me have you say something about where you're headed over the next couple of weeks, and I'm guessing it's somewhat unpredictable given hurricanes don't lay out an agenda for us.
Exactly. Yeah. So currently heading towards Panama City, Florida. That's Hurricane Michael is heading that direction right now. It's supposed to make landfall, I think, within the next 24 hours. And don't know if that's the right choice of a city to be able to be looking at a kitchen in, for numerous reasons. Don't know if that's going to be, our kitchen could potentially be out of commission, or if it hits somewhere further west or east, then, we have some driving to do or have to find another kitchen closer. But it's a gambling game. And, as you said, with length of time, it's hard to say. A few months ago, I was in Hawaii with Hurricane Lane when it was heading toward Hawaii, and it completely made a turn, and all of a sudden, within a 10-minute period, kind of blew apart and disappeared. So they're very, very unpredictable. So I could be here for the next 3 or 4 days, or I could be here for a couple weeks. It's hard to say. Well,
I gather you get a charge out of this.
It definitely is a little exciting, and it's obviously the adrenaline is definitely there, but the adrenaline afterwards and being able to help people and be there and apply what I do, which is cooking, and apply that to something that is beneficial to people in need is a pretty cool job at the end of the day.
Yeah, you've touched on what I thought we might wrap up with, and that is just tell us from a big picture standpoint why it is that you do what you do with World Central Kitchen.
Just pretty much, obviously for myself, it feels good, and you do get that rush, which just like a restaurant is one of those things that keeps you involved with restaurants. But back home, it's my family. It's my wife, Lisa, and my son, 15 months old, Arlo. And they're very supportive with me doing this. They know that it's helping a lot of people. And from, my aspect with, trying to teach him the right things to do in life, hopefully he takes away from this and wants to grow up and do some good in the world as well.
Well, that's a great introduction to this third song that you've identified, Stevie Wonder's you are the sunshine of my life. You want to say something more about that?
Well, I mean, definitely that's the two of them, you know, my wife and son, they're the ones who keep me going, and a lot of this is for them, and that's exactly what they are. They're, you know, the sunshines in my life.
And when you're in Florida or North Carolina or elsewhere with cloud cover, I imagine their sunshine really does motivate you.
It definitely does.
Well, Tim, it's been a treat talking with you. Thank you again for all that you're doing and for your role in our collaboration with World Central Kitchen as well. Thank you again on behalf of myself and our neighbors here in North Carolina for all you have done, did do, and are doing in North Carolina following Hurricane Florence. It's
well, thank you so much.
It's been terrific talking with you. And I have to say, I'm amazed at how you and your colleagues can translate what you do in the restaurant business to putting together 40,000 or 300,000 meals. I imagine in your restaurant, you don't regularly in an evening serve 300,000 meals. Have I got that right?
Yeah, not at all. And in every disaster situation, we're basically opening a brand new restaurant within 12 hours. So it's to do that and then to serve a ton of people is it's pretty amazing.
Amazing's a great word for it. Well, again, Tim, thank you. Let's go out with the song. Stevie Wonder's "You Are the Sunshine of My Life."
You are the sunshine of my life. That's why I'll
Sunshine of my life, baby. That's why I always think so.
You've been listening to Grace Notes, a special program here on Life 103.1 featuring people who may be relatively unknown, but who meet life's challenges in ways that brighten the lives of those around them. Our producer is Christina Dolan. I'm Alan Button, and we invite you to join all of us here at the station again next Friday at 5:30 for Grace Notes on Life 103.1.